so tired of living, she just wanted to be in peace. Grabbed a Glock that a BD left under the bed. Cocked that thing back and put her right to her head. The last words that she said is, I'm coming home, cause she don't want to be in this world alone. Now she gone. You know what I mean?
In the 1980s and 90s, a new type of hip-hop music called gangster rap was becoming very popular in California. Artists like NWA and Snoop Dogg were emerging as cutting-edge rappers, writing songs about gang activity and street violence in their own communities.
Straight out of Compton is a crazy brother named Ice Cube from the stupid dope gang with an attitude.
Often with songs and videos that seemed larger than life.
Now just throw your hands in the motherfucking air and wave the motherfuckers like you just don't care.
But something new is happening in the Golden State. Prosecutors are using those violent rap lyrics as part of evidence in criminal trials against would-be rappers, and a lot of the time, not much else.
My real government name is Deandre Mitchell, and my rap name is Laz Tha Boy from Richmond, California. It just was a way for me to express myself and be able to show the world that I can do something else, try to give the people around me motivation to be able to say we can come from nothing.
I've known Deandre about 1.5 years, as long as I've been representing him on this case.
John Hamasaki is a criminal defense attorney in San Francisco.
He has been a aspiring rapper, or I think beyond aspiring to some degree at this point. He has achieved some local success.
You know, coming from the blade, got my jury on my J's, just an ordinary day.
Mitchell was 29 when he was arrested and charged with 2 counts of attempted murder, and the charges are harsher because prosecutors say that he's in a gang, which he denies. He's been awaiting trial at the Martinez Detention Facility for 2 years and could face life in prison. The charges came about through a secret proceeding called a grand jury, where there was no judge, no defense attorney, and no defendant present.
In a grand jury, the prosecution is allowed to do pretty much what they want.
The proceeding was secret, so all we have are transcripts of what happened. There wasn't any physical evidence presented. No video, DNA, fibers, fingerprints, nothing that would directly connect Mitchell to the crime. The prosecution's case centered around the eyewitness account of the victim, who didn't report the first shooting to police, but did report the second shooting, in which he was sitting in a car on the street and was shot in the chest. He told the grand jury Mitchell and 2 other men were involved, but more on this later. The prosecutor also introduced 3 rap videos made by Mitchell, which were brought up in the testimony of a gang detective.
The prosecution would play a segment of the video and then ask the detective to pause the tape and then repeat certain parts of it. And some of the parts that he stopped and repeated were there's a reference to a cater.
Satish Yalapalli is a prosecutor with the Contra Costa County District Attorney's Office and presented the evidence against Mitchell.
Cater is a slang term for an AK-47, an assault rifle.
Even though an AK-47 wasn't used in the crime and Mitchell is never implicated as the gunman, Yalapalli says that the videos show that Mitchell had the mindset to commit such a crime.
And the other reference that he paused on in one song was murk, to murk somebody.
To murk someone is to murder them, to kill them. And again, you'll see that in songs, including some of the songs, What You Do It For, Southside Richmond by Mr. Mitchell.
The term murk is used by rappers all of the time.
Sharis Kubrin is a professor of criminology, law, and society at the University of California, Irvine, and is the co-author of the paper Rap on Trial that details the history and scope of rap lyrics used in criminal proceedings.
And if it's not murk, it's I'm going to smoke him, I'm going to pop a cap into him, I'm going to blaze him.
In one case, the prosecution actually paused the video to a point where Mr. Mitchell was had his hands in the shape of guns and miming shooting a gun towards the camera.
So sometimes there will be gestures, there will be hand signs. It's one piece among many pieces or points of evidence through that song or through those songs that tended to show gang-related activity.
You can turn on any video by gangster rappers in the 90s and the 2000s, and you can find instances of rappers pointing the gun. That is as common as any gangster rap video around. This has been going on since the early 90s, but we've really seen a rise in the number of cases where this is happening, and I think that's in part due to this talking among prosecutors about this tactic. There's even been a training manual that is out there teaching prosecutors that you can use music lyrics to invade and exploit the defendant's true personality.
You have to find a way to transport the jury to those dark streets and back alleyways where the crimes occur and where the criminals ply their trade.
Alan Jackson wrote that manual Kubrin mentioned, and although he's in private practice now, he prosecuted gang crimes in Los Angeles during the 1990s.
A prosecution can never and should never be built solely on gang evidence, and darn sure should never be built solely on rap lyrics. But if the issue is knowledge or intent or identity or an understanding of gang life itself, of course gang evidence is going to be incredibly relevant, and that means certain rap lyrics that may have been drafted by the person become relevant.
So how often is this type of thing used?
I would say probably if you're talking about trials, preliminary hearings, other types of hearings, at least a dozen times, probably more. I would say in all of the gang trials I've tried, I've probably introduced either social media or rap lyrics or both, or rap music or both to the jury.
If you think about who's serving in our jury system in the United States, it's typically older, higher socioeconomic status, typically white. They often don't have the proper context for understanding rap music.
People that don't live the same lifestyle we live or listen to the same music we live is going to be ignorant to the situation, so that's giving the government something to feed off of.
One of the things we know about rap music is that rappers fashion characters, right? And evidence of that is the fact that they often use other names besides their own. Not always, but most often.
Snoop Doggy, Doggy, Doggy.
So there's Deandre Mitchell, who is the individual, who is the person, but then there's the person he created, the rapper he created, Laz Tha Boy. And what happens is we tend to assume they're one and the same.
Deandre is the family man. I have 2 kids and everything, but when I do music, I build my character to be Laz Tha Boy, and that's just another image. If you get around me and really understand me and see what's going on, you see that it's just an image. It's not who I am.
There's a lot of wordplay, there's a lot of exaggeration, there's a lot of metaphor, simile. The goal is to use wordplay, often to invert meaning.
Kids, so stop. Then like you say, maybe your motherfucking own. I'll hang your ass with this microphone.
If you see a movie or something and it looks so realistic and bring goosebumps to your arms, you really can feel it, you know what I mean? And that's just how I feel. That's just how I try to make my music feel.
When you actually look at the content, it's clear that this is actually drawing on real-life experiences involving real-life men who have, in fact, had their lives ended due to gang violence.
They don't do it to anybody else's music, just only hip-hop music. They don't do it to rock and roll, they don't do it to country, reggae, nothing.
It was I who shot the sheriff, but I had to kill her.
'Cause Earl had to die.
But I shot a man in Reno just to watch him die. When I hear
Well, one, Johnny Cash is dead, but even if Johnny Cash were alive, as far as I know, no one ever suspected him of shooting someone in Reno. If he had done that and he was charged with that, then I think it might be a different story.
I hesitate to go into the motives as to why it's used, but I think that the effect it has on jurors, on ordinary people without exposure to hip-hop, perpetuates certain myths and stereotypes that are portrayed by the news media of young African-American males being involved in criminal activity.
I don't see this use of evidence as targeting young black males. In fact, the overwhelming majority of victims of gun violence in gang-related cases often tend to be young minorities, whether African American or Hispanic.
The cases that I happen to get tended to be against young black males, young Hispanic males. That's who join gangs, like it or leave it.
They built America. This is supposed to be the land of the free. It's supposed to be freedom of speech. So when I use my freedom of speech and voice my opinion, then y'all turn around and try to use it against me like this is who I am as a person, and y'all mind is blinded, and then y'all try to portray the jury or anybody else who will listen like this is who I am as a person.
I don't see that using this evidence chills anyone's right of expression any more than recognizing that gang evidence of any kind chills expression. At the end of the day, yes, a person has a First Amendment right to speak, but when they then commit a crime, sometimes what they say will end up being used against them.
Mitchell was facing a life sentence at this point, so a plea deal was one of his best options. On November 5, 2014, he pled no contest to a single count of assault with a firearm. He was able to leave prison that day, having already served his time. Yalapali said he couldn't comment as to why the case didn't go to trial, but it turns out the victim's testimony was pretty flimsy all along. He said he saw Mitchell at both shootings, but also told police in an interview that what he knew was based on street gossip. He signed a legal document in August 2014 saying, "I never saw Deandre Mitchell during either of the shootings, and my statements before the grand jury about Mitchell were just based on rumors I had heard in Richmond."
Prosecutors want to secure, they want to secure convictions. They want to make communities safer. I don't devalue those motives, but what I do say to prosecutors is you have to go about it the hard way sometimes. And that means you have to get the evidence. You have to get the physical evidence. You have to prove the case.
Yeah, they try to revive him, but ain't no bringing him back that quick. She done lost everything that she cared for. Brain gone, Dorothy felt like the scarecrow. It's been a week and she ain't slept a wink. So tired of living, she just wanna be in peace.